In this video, I'll cover the European space startup scene, specifically focusing on companies building orbital-class rockets. I'm not going to cover companies that only build parts of a rocket, such as engines, but full-stack rocket launch vehicles. With that said, because of the number of European space startups building rockets, I'm going to break it down into two videos. This video will cover the heavy hitters, or the big players, the startups with the most funding, credible plans, and the factories needed to scale launches, plus the technology and expertise to be a serious player in the launch sector. A second video later this week will cover the other European space startups who don't have the same level of funding or are less advanced, but who may be serious players in the future. Hey everyone, quick thing before we dive in. Join my weekly live stream this Saturday. It's a community of space nerds discussing the news about space startups including rocket launch companies, the orbital economy and lunar development. I recap all my videos this week, including slides, images and extra content that wasn't included in the videos. After each video recap, I read some of the best comments from viewers and answer chat messages. Ask me anything on any space topic, or just chat amongst yourselves about the latest space happenings this week. The more people chatting, the more fun it gets, and yeah, super chats definitely get priority. So drop your comments right after watching the video, and I'll see you this weekend for the full recap and live Q&A. Find the live stream link in the pinned comment for this video. Okay, let's start with the first heavyweight European startup company building an orbital-class rocket. Isar Aerospace is the most funded space startup in Europe developing orbital rockets. Estimates put their funding level at around 600 million euros. It's a mixture of private capital and government contracts, plus a big chunk of money from the European Launcher Challenge. In fact, Isar Aerospace is looking to raise another 250 million euros in funding, taking them close to unicorn status with nearly €1 billion in investment. Their Spectrum rocket is 28 meters tall with a 2-meter diameter and can loft 1,000 kilos to low Earth orbit. This puts their vehicle into the small satellite launcher market. In fact, all European launcher companies are targeting initial capacity in a similar payload range. This is unlike the US launcher market, where startups are targeting the far more lucrative medium launch market. Isar Aerospace has made the most progress of all European startups, with their Spectrum rocket having already launched once. Although the flight only lasted 30 seconds before the flight termination system was activated, resulting in the vehicle crashing into the sea close to the launch pad. The company launches their rockets from the Andøya spaceport in Norway. Isar have identified and fixed the problem with their first launch vehicle, although they haven't told us exactly what the problem was. The second launch is now imminent, perhaps today or later this week, depending on weather conditions. The company has built a factory in Munich to manufacture Spectrum rockets, with a gradual ramp up in vehicle construction over the coming years. With a large backlog of contracts, Isar should be able to start flying payloads for their customers once they complete a successful launch. Okay, let's move on to another German space startup building rockets. Rocket Factory Augsburg, or RFA for short, was once perhaps slightly ahead of Isar and could have launched much earlier, potentially in late 2024 or early 2025, if it wasn't for a massive launch pad explosion resulting in the destruction of their first stage, all 9 engines, plus damage to the launch pad. This pad has since been repaired and upgraded with a 52-meter umbilical tower. Their second vehicle, comprising both first and second stages but without engines, is now at the Saxford spaceport in Scotland. The 9 Helix engines are undergoing final qualification and acceptance testing in Sweden and will be shipped one by one to Saxford for integration onto the first stage of the launch vehicle. Then the vehicle will undergo integrated hot fire tests before a launch attempt, perhaps in the summer of 2026. RFA received 190 million euros from the European Launcher Challenge, additional money from the UK government and private funding sources, sufficient to see them through to a launch attempt later this year. In addition to their 2-stage orbital vehicle called RFA-1, they have a third stage called Redshift. This is an orbital transfer vehicle or space tug, allowing the company to position payloads in the exact orbit required by their customers. Payload capacity is 1,300 kilos to a 500-kilometer sun-synchronous orbit. In addition, 850 kilos can be delivered to a higher polar orbit. This is where the satellite or spacecraft orbits directly over the poles, giving complete coverage of the globe. Their Helix engines use the oxygen-rich staged-combustion engine cycle, which is more efficient than the gas generator engine design used by Isar Aerospace. This may explain why the RFA-1 rocket has a higher payload capacity than Isar's Spectrum rocket. Given their superior engine technology, more payload capacity and a third stage, RFA is strongly positioned to support the European market. Their success will depend upon achieving an operational launch vehicle and their ability to manufacture rockets at a high enough cadence to satisfy market demand. Okay, let's introduce the only European heavy hitter that's not from Germany. PLD Space is a Spanish space startup that's well funded, likely in the €350 million range. Of the 3 European startups in this video, they are the only company to have successfully flown a vehicle, the Miura 1 suborbital demonstrator. It flew in October 2023 for over 3 minutes, demonstrating the company has the expertise to design, build and launch rockets. This was Europe's first private rocket launch. The company is now set to launch their first orbital-class rocket, the Miura 5, from French Guiana, the European spaceport where Ariane 6 also launches from. Miura 5 is the tallest of the European launchers mentioned today, standing 35 meters tall. It will have partial reusability with a first stage ocean landing and recovery for up to 3 flights. The engines burn RP1 and liquid oxygen, the same propellants as SpaceX's Falcon 9 vehicle. Payload capacity is around 1,000 kilos to an equatorial low Earth orbit. Due to the spaceport being close to the equator, there is a substantial penalty for sun-synchronous orbits. Miura 5 can only lift 540 to 900 kilos to this type of orbit, at least until they add launch options from a northern or southern spaceport. PLD Space have ambitious plans for much larger rockets. First, they plan a medium launch vehicle called Miura Next. This vehicle can lift over 13 tons to low Earth orbit, similar to Rocket Lab's upcoming Neutron vehicle. They will have propulsive landing capability back to the launch pad. PLD Space also plans heavy and super heavy launch vehicles. Miura Next's maiden flight is expected to be in 2030. The company is planning on launching 30 times a year by 2030. For details on the heavy, super heavy, and even a crewed capsule, please check out my video covering all the detailed specifications. Final thoughts. Gwen Shotwell, Chief Operating Officer of SpaceX, has said the launcher market can only support 2 or 3 providers in most vehicle classes. For rockets that exclusively service the small satellite launcher market, it's difficult to see how they could be profitable. Only Rocket Lab has made any money in this market, and that's because it diversified into satellite platforms, components and services, which now represent 2/3 of its revenue. While it may be necessary to start small with rockets that launch 1,000 kilos at a time, startups will need to pivot to medium lift vehicles as soon as possible to capture larger and more lucrative payloads. SpaceX pivoted after just one successful launch of their Falcon 1, not out of choice, but because they couldn't get any contracts. Relativity Space also pivoted from their Terran 1 vehicle after a single launch. It could be that in the European market, these startups can break even or even turn a tiny profit from their small launch vehicles. But if they plan to serve the global market, they will need to build larger, more powerful rockets quickly. What do you think of these 3 companies? Isar Aerospace, Rocket Factory Augsburg, and PLD Space. Which will succeed? Or do you think none of them will make it? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this space video, consider buying me a coffee to help fund more episodes like this. The link is in the description. Watch the weekly live stream to see the images, clips and slides from this week's videos. It's a live Q&A on this week's space topics where I read out loud some of the best comments. The more people join, the more fun the live stream is. Be sure to like and subscribe so you will see our upcoming videos. We make videos every week covering the space industry with an emphasis on the smaller space startups that aren't covered so well on other channels. See you soon.